everybody, to another episode of the show, and really excited to hear today. I'm out just a little northeast of Calgary at Bear and the Flower Farm, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Christoper and Jessica. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Very excited to be part of this.
Yeah, great. We've been talking online a little bit here, and thrilled to get out here and kind of see what you guys are doing. So tell me about Bear and the Flower.
I'll let you start.
Well, I guess the easiest way to start is our story of how we kind of got into this. Yeah,
I usually ask when I'm interviewing barbecue people. I say, "What's your barbecue story? How did you get into the barbecue life?" So I guess in your case, what's your story?
Well, I never thought that I would be a pig farmer.
Yeah,
it's pretty surprising, to be honest with you, but. Now it's kind of all that I talk about, and it's my passion. So 3 years ago, Chris was working in manufacturing, and I was actually in the counseling field with children in the school system. And Chris ended up, getting bought out. Wasn't something that he wanted. But sometimes the best things are what you don't want. And he was at home, pretty depressed and thinking about what's his next step going to be in life. And maybe we should turn our phones off.
I can edit.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what is our next step going to be, and I said to Chris, well, what's kind of your thing that you want to do? What have you always wanted to do? And he says, well, I've always loved farming, going round and round in a tractor. And so we were in a cooperative farming situation with his family up until 2013. We all had cattle, and his younger brother had taken over the farm, but he didn't really want to calve out anymore, and he wanted to live more in BC and come and do hay and everything in the warmer months and then go back to BC. So we ended up all selling out of cattle, and Chris and I owned land that wasn't good for crop. It was more of grazing land. So we thought Chris wants to be a farmer, and we ended up taking a bare piece of land and getting into pig farming because cattle's too expensive to get into. Most farms are generational. The equipment and everything. So everything that you see on this farm we built from scratch with very little money, and just a lot of sweat and hard work. Yeah,
well, that's awesome.
So that's how we got into it.
So it was in the family before. It didn't just the farming thing didn't just come out of the blue. And
farming was part of on my family side. Like she said, hay and cattle was the big operation, and we thought, let's get into this as a side to supplement our income and all that. It was supposed to be a side business. Let's sell a few hogs a week kind of thing, or a few hogs a month. Yeah. And it's now taken full precedent where we've got 3 other staff working besides the 2 of us with us all the time, and it's our full-time passion and gig now. And it's, Jessica always says, it's bigger than us. This food movement and the local, sustainable, ethical. How can we feed the masses without being a factory farm and still have those same ethics that you would still get from, I'll call it a mom and pop or a small backyard farmer.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of our mission and our mantras. We want to produce food that has the love, the ethics, the value, and most importantly, the quality that the consumer wants on a larger scale. Yeah. So we just started growing, and then the momentum come faster than we could understand. And that's why I say it's bigger than us. Yeah. And now, when we first got into it, a chef would sit down with us and go, love your product and all that. How long until you can't supply me? That was his biggest problem, because the people who are growing good food were on the smaller side. And we then said, we can supply. And so then we just started bringing on contracts. And then we started to realize, oh man, we got to move this whole animal. And we'd be sitting on, everyone wants bellies and loins. Yeah. And how do we move the front and the back of that animal? Right. So then that became our product, and our problem. And Jessica started adding value-added items like sausages and hams and cured products, and working with companies, like Empire Provisions out of Calgary.
Great folks.
They're huge supporters of us. Or Muley's up in Edmonton. They're taking They're taking whole carcasses, but they're also taking trim product to make into their sausages.
Oh, awesome.
So, it's win-win for us. It's win-win for them. It helps us move that whole animal.
Yeah.
Reduces our inventory.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the story where we started. And then as we started getting deeper and deeper into the process here, we started to realize there's a viable business here. Mm-hmm. How can we make the product better?
Yeah.
How can we refine our internal process? How can we refine what our customers are after? And what are we going after? Mm-hmm. As entrepreneurs, when you first get into it, it's let's take it all. Yeah. And then you realize, I can't chew all that, you know, or the margins aren't big enough, or we're not ready for that, you know. So we had to really sit down year after year and just redial in that process. Mm-hmm. And that's what got us to where we are today and our mission now.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and for me and my family, the sustainable, the ethical, that's really what, you know, looking at what you guys are doing attracted me to, you know, wanted to reach out to you guys, because it's something as a family we've tried to do. And you know,
it's a big
putting
thing.
some thought into where we're buying the meat we eat, where the food we eat, where it's coming from, right? So that's you know, I guess tell me a little bit more about that side of the pig farming side of it. Yeah.
You know, when you say things like that, it not only resonates with Bear in the Flower, but all my fellow producers, and people might view them as competition, but I need my competitors at this infancy to do very well. Mm-hmm. You know, so the other 5 or 6 farms that would be in the same size of us and capacity that are out there, you'd see them in all the natural food stores. Yeah. We want them to do well, because they're helping that movement. Yeah. You know, and when you and your family go and you decide to buy a Bear in the Flower or a local Alberta farm, true statistic, 97 cents of that dollar stays in the local economy. Yeah. Oh. When you go to buy that meat that was imported from the United States or even from another province, 3 cents stays in, and that 97 cents is going back to there. You know, that 3 cents on the aggregate is used to employ those people in that store and pay the fuel to get them here. Yeah. But that 97 cents, you know, we're employing people on our farm. We're buying our feed locally. We're employing local veterinarians. We're employing a local nutritionist. You know, all within the province of Alberta. Yeah. You know, so
keeps money here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this economy, that's what we need.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we need, and in all economies. You know, so there's a big push for that sustainable and local movement. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way it all kind of started was the 1st January, we had our pigs kind of ready, and we sold 4 pigs. And we thought, what are we getting into?
What do we,
And then you have these animals that are live and growing and eating, and they're a live commodity. You have to sell them, because what else are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
So then I started, you know, approaching chefs and being like, hey, do you want to buy like a pig or some primal cuts? You know, we started very small, and then they'd get it and be like, this is horrible. Or this is so fat. You know, if I sat around and ate bread all the time, I'd be the same. And that's the same as with animals. You can't just feed them barley and peas and think that that's going to, you know, get a good quality product. So as time went on, Chris and I started delving more and more and more into our product and became super nerdy about it. And we'll tell you all about that.
Yeah.
But backing up a minute, also during that process, we started to realize that outdoor pig farmers didn't have a very good reputation.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, especially in the world of pork.
Okay.
In Alberta, pork.
Just the meat quality.
And slaughter plants as being flaky people, people that weren't very, you know, clean with their animals. They're full of worms. They don't have biosecurity measures. Right. So as we started getting into that, we started working closely to get our CQA, and so we've kind of led the industry.
Super.
For the government of Canada, and we were the first outdoor farm to get our CQA, our federal status. Okay. So what that means is that most outdoor farms, if you're not a barn, you have a border of Alberta. Right. And that's all you can stay in, unless you're going to ship them live over the border. I see. We started, you know, working on biosecurity program for outdoor farms. And we're piloting it with the government.
Oh, wonderful.
And then now we're up to do our full-fledged, our CQA. But it meant things like, when you go to the slaughter plant, don't bring that trailer home until you wash it.
Okay, right.
You know?
Yeah.
using natural ways to deworm your pigs. When you came in, you saw
Yeah.
we had boots before you walked
Yeah.
into our yard.
Yeah.
You know, all that kind of stuff. People come here, we sign you in, we sign you out. So we have like full traceability.
Right.
Just there's so many parts of it. We tarp all our straw to make sure, you know, it's cleaner.
Right.
And we don't have, you know, birds and everything sitting in there and building nests.
Right.
So all these little things really were a learning curve. And Chris and I are not just about our farm. We're for this for all outdoor farms.
whole
We should
industry,
have
right?
the same rights as barns.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that my pigs are healthier. You know,
Yeah.
vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. It's like should be part of life.
Yeah.
So there's all those little things that have taken us to where we've come.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then I'll let Chris talk about all the nerdy stuff because he's really into it about our feed and stuff.
Yeah.
And our genetics. We have a big announcement about
Oh.
that. Yeah.
So then when we, like as Jessica alluded to, our first product was not good. And I hate to admit it, but it's the truth.
Right.
But it only makes you better.
Yeah.
You know, and failure is almost a key to success. And so we started refining. The first thing that we dove into was nutrition. So we work with a company out of Airdrie called Nutrition Partners.
Okay.
And they have a nutritionist that works with us, and he is incredible. He's, you know, used to the conventional farming and all that, so he enjoys this because it's a change. So he's come out and he's taken a pig that would normally take us 8.5 months to finish, and we're finishing it 2 to 3 weeks or longer than a conventional operation.
Okay.
Because we still have to deal with the elements, and I can't control that. But however, finishing a pig that's still got a nice fat cover on it that the consumer wants, but it's not too fatty, where you're cutting off 2 inches of back fat to get to the loin,
Right.
and making the eyes
And
too
the
small.
loin's really small and shrunken down.
So working with Nutrition Partners, they then started dieting in, and when it gets to minus 30, we can adjust the nutritional and the calories that the pig eats.
Okay.
And when it's a plus 30, we can do this exact same thing. So it's about dialing that in, and it's not major adjustments. It's still the same ingredients. It's just how much of that ingredient are we putting in to ensure that that pig gets the optimal health. And further to that, because we've gone down the antibiotic-free route, the hormone-free route, no different than in a human. You have to have a healthy animal. And it all starts with gut flora. And as this is becoming a new big culture in the human side.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
been in the pig business for a while.
Okay.
So we feed our pigs a prebiotic, a probiotic, and then on top of that, Peter said to us, who's the nutritionist, says, "What have you ever thought about giving them flax?" I'm like, "Oh, that's," you know, we kind of hemmed and hawed about it, and he says, "I think," so we did a few experiments, and the amount of flax that we are giving, along with the prebiotic and probiotic, is not only healthy for the pig, but it transfers into their fat. And we had to have a whole carcass tested from a third-party lab that's vetted by the CFIA, and we've been certified to be high in omega-3s.
Okay. Nice.
So for every time that you eat
Yeah.
100 grams of our pork, you're getting 0.9 of a gram of omega-3s and 6s, which is three times the CFI's requirement to tout to have that tagline, high in omega-3s, legally.
And it's got the omega-6 as well, you said?
The omega-6s, we don't tout that as often because
Okay.
some people say that omega-6s are not as good, but
No. What I've been reading, at least for humans, it's the balance between,
It's the balance, yeah.
between the 3 and 6,
So-
right? So
they are high in omega-3s and 6s, but 3s is the big one. And it's done without fish products or anything like that.
Nice.
But yeah, some farms will use, you know, kelp
okay.
and seaweeds and stuff, but then we can't have an animal byproduct free because when they're
Right.
scraping that, they're bringing up, and then it gets ground, and
yeah.
you just don't know.
What you
So
get,
we
yeah.
do get audited for every claims that we make.
course.
So we have to make sure that
Yeah.
we are what we
Yeah,
say.
if you
we
say
are.
it is, it's got to be there, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, and then lifestyle would be the next thing. You know, we always knew that outside, and you know, we strongly guesstimate, just through some different research, that in 1 week our pig will walk more than a pig in a confinement operation will walk in its entire life.
Wow.
So when you start thinking about that, and just the human, when you go for a walk, and what it does to your fat,
Yeah.
and it creates intermuscles and that muscle building, and creates that marbling.
Yeah.
You know, but that not alone won't create that. You know, you need to have enrichment and a healthy lifestyle, and pigs are a very intelligent animal and very smart.
Yeah.
So providing enrichment in the pens,
Yeah.
lots of room to root and play. some hurdles along the way, making sure they have enough place to sleep, so they're not sleeping on top of each other.
Right.
So as we are growing, adding more shelters and different styles of shelter, cost-effective shelters, or our value inside the shelters, because they do live outside, minus 30, plus 30. They never go inside.
Yeah.
So further to that, we then needed to start working on genetics. You read, everyone's got their own idea of that, and we started working with a while ago a farm called VDK Farms out of Three Hills, and a name Robin Vanderkool and his family have been inspirational to us, and he, I call him the genetics guru, or the genetics master, and so he's helped us now start to dial in different traits of the meat. So now we're taking samples of the meat and getting the meat color up, introducing marbling, introducing back fat. But every time that you want to do this by bringing in a different breed or all that, there's also a trade-off. Does the pig get fatter? Does the pig grow longer? So we at any given time have 3 to 4 different samples going through our farm that we just track, and we just, how long did it take to rear this pig? How much feed did it work? The feed conversion? What was the meat quality like? The carcass quality like? So we're always trying to do that.
An ear tag.
Okay.
So we'll just ear tag them with the different colors, and we'll know that this batch of 20,
it's
and we'll follow them through, and where we keep a log. And so Robin and his family only breed for us. So they are 100% our breeders. They don't breed for anybody else.
Yeah.
And so they really cater to our specifications, and then just are helping us grow our demand and allowing that product to become better. So that's the exciting thing, is with the combination of the nutrition, the lifestyle, and the genetics. Hi, Luma. The quality of our product has now become renowned chefs, and now there's the demand for it, and they're asking for it. And
that's
not only the chef, the consumers they're finding that it's a flavorful product. It's
Consistent.
Good. It's consistent. That's our other big thing, is finding a consistent product that we can ship weekly.
Right.
So
we're very, one thing that we do the best is our Tomahawk Chop.
Okay.
Nice. Because of our genetics.
Yeah.
And the weight we raise our pig to.
Right.
I mean, that landrace genetic, it makes our Tomahawk just beautiful,
Awesome.
Yeah. And you have to know what you're doing, and we have surrounded ourselves with the people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Chris and I, it's not us, it's these people that are experts in their field that are so passionate about what we're doing that they're want to so be a part of it. You know, they're
that's
just
awesome.
it's exciting because they're used to working in a different part of the industry, conventional, which is, horrible what they're going through.
our support team is incredible, and our veterinarian, she's, extremely influential and inspirational about what should we do, how should we do it, and if she doesn't know, I have this friend that worked on an outdoor farm in the UK and gets us in touch with that person, and it's just been, so
the whole team. Right?
an outdoor farmer this size in North America is very few, if any. There's probably a few in the States, but in Canada this size, we're probably one of the larger. Maybe there's a few others, but so it's tough to go and get data, research, information.
Right.
There's not a book to go and read.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trial and error, as I call it, baptism by fire.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many pigs do you have? How big is this?
So currently on the farm we have between 15 and 1,600 animals.
Okay.
And we're in the process of completing an expansion, which by fall next year will allow this farm to raise around 5,000 animals.
Yeah, and then we are very excited to have our, well, we haven't even announced it.
Probably not yet.
Okay, not yet. Never mind.
Something coming.
Yes.
There is something coming,
Awesome.
really big for us. So
Very
the
big,
project in the spring,
Yep.
and yeah.
Well, let me know. Let me know when you're ready to.
Well, you're gonna come back. You gotta
Okay.
come back.
Absolutely.
You gotta come back in the summer.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's.
And the pigs have a splash park.
I've seen your videos and stuff on
Yeah.
that. That's awesome. Yeah.
So pigs actually do way better in the winter
Okay.
than they do the summer because they don't sweat. They get really hot.
Yes.
So this summer was just so hot and dry.
Smoky.
Yeah.
So we're
Dusty.
learning so much about planting perennials in the ground.
Right.
We're learning about keeping them nice and cool. So we built a splash park. Like
Awesome.
every year we're doing these
Figuring it out as
little things to make our pigs' quality of life
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess you talked about some of the restaurants and stuff you're working with locally here. Who are those guys?
Well, Jessica, touch
Well,
on that.
the biggest thing is that really sets us apart from any other outdoor farm in Alberta is we have massive distribution.
Mm-hmm.
When Chris and I first started, we had a reefer truck. We're probably just about got divorced. We hated each other. We drive to Banff to drop off a loin.
Yeah.
And we were just all over the place.
Right.
And you can't do it all, know?
Yeah.
So we've kind of given up the idea of not having a butcher shop and not self-distributing.
Right.
So those two things I think have really catapulted us forward.
Right.
In that we work with the top distributors in
Right.
this province, from GFS to pre-pack meats, Finn's up in Edmonton, Cisco Edmonton, Cisco Calgary.
Sure.
Birkby Foods does all of our retail. So we have everyone that kind of, and then BC, that's a whole nother thing. So we've just kind of like partnered up with these people that do what they do really well, and we're going to do what we do really well.
And they've got their network too, right? So by partnering with them, you're tapping into their entire network of customer base, right?
And instead of having her and I pounding the pavement or hiring a sales guy, we can focus those resources on the farm, invest that money here, and allow these distributors who've got 10, 20, 30, 50 sales guys pushing your product.
Absolutely.
So what they do is like what's coming up, for example, is there's shows I go to with them.
Yeah.
And then I meet more chefs or, I'll have 2 days up in Banff with GFS on February 4th and 5th. And they just book me up. The whole day, you're here.
Awesome. So.
And then I'm more effective. And then I organize samples and all of that. So it's kind of crazy, but Chris and I don't even know a lot of the places that we're in anymore. And that's the hard part at times.
Letting go of that a bit, right?
Yeah, you kind of just have to give up that control. So it's important that I go out and I get on the road.
Yeah.
But and then we have a different type of clientele, like Una Pizza and Bread and Circus, that group, Kale breaks down a hog or two every week, and he uses that whole thing for his restaurant, so we have that. And then we also have the butcher shops, like the Empire Provisions, the K&K Food Liner, the Muleys, McLean's Meats, all of these other types of industries that, more direct to customers.
Yeah, awesome.
So we have a few different markets, and we've kind of spread ourselves out through that to try and move that whole animal.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I love what you guys are doing, and I look forward to trying some of your product real soon here. And, where can folks find you?
On our website, we actually have a whole list. It's the tab that says Find Us, and if you click on that, we give you a whole list of retail shops.
Okay.
And then for restaurants, if you go on our Instagram and see what photos we've been tagged in, you can usually find out
who's
or send me a message and tell me what you want. Some thing that people don't realize is I'll hook them up.
Yeah.
Like if you want to take your wife on a nice dinner at the Banff Gondola, I know the chef.
You know the people. Oh, that's it. Good
I
to
will
know.
help you and give a nice little good
Valentine's
word.
is coming, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Chris and I do that too. Our friends will message us and be like, we want to do a nice supper. And we'll go to this place,
Well, I'll put all the links to your website and your social media in the show notes. And I guess one thing, and again, I'm usually talking to barbecue people, but I'll ask you kind of the same question I try to close up with is if you're firing up the grill or the barbecue, what's your go-to?
Oh, I would tell you there's two things.
Yeah.
I make, in my opinion, a killer pork burger.
Okay.
So that I'd put that up against any beef burger out there. But my go-to is our Tomahawk Chop.
Nice. Yeah.
We probably eat the pork burger more.
Yeah.
Because it's so good.
Yeah. We have a 14-ounce bone-in tomahawk, and it's a showpiece of a cut.
Yeah.
16 ounce.
Say that over again.
It's a 16 ounce bone-in showpiece of a product, and I'll get the barbecue searing good and hot.
Yeah.
Just salt and pepper for flavor on there. Maybe a little pork spice, but nothing major. And I liked it put it on there at high heat, char it so just the juice is clear but still pink in the middle.
Yeah.
And get that sear on the outside, and
Yeah.
there's nothing more flavorful, juicy. You know, I always grew up thinking, pork chops are dry,
Well, that's-
dry,
yeah.
and I hated pork chops.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, if you cook them right, yeah.
cook them right, and you got and you're not having a thin little piece, and with nice marbling and a good fat through.
Nice. Yeah. Well, folks, thank you so much, Christopher, Jessica. Thanks so much. This is
Thank you so
this
much.
is great. Great to get out in the
you.
country here a little bit, and